I was actually like at my friend's bachelor party, and I was like drinking a pint, like midway through downing a pint, and someone was like, "Hey, like Snoop just wrecked guy." I was like, "What?" Yeah, exactly. Completely out of the blue. It was insane. That's for me. That's like my biggest highlight in this whole journey so far.
Going from Wall Street, right, and coming into Web3, has that been the best decision of your life?
The volatility of the price action, like you go from a market where things are moving 2% or 5% to a market where things are moving like 1,000% or down 99%, was just incredible. And I just found like both crypto and NFTs as like an asset class is way more interesting than the traditional markets that I was trading.
I think you also got unlucky, right? Because you ended up selling a lot of your apes, or if I'm not mistaken, at a very low amount.
I had no idea how big they're going to be. I was just like buying and selling JPEGs and stuff. And obviously I had no idea what apes were going to become, what Yuga was going to become. And I was like, cool, I just minted all these things. I just made like 5 times or 10 times my money, and I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the money and run.
Calm down before you stress up the groove. The energy a little different when the blessings accrue. Hey, who you talking to? Just know I ain't no regular fool. Could be anything in the world, but I can never be you because I stand tall like I'm on my tiptoe.
All right, Avi, what is going on? How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely great. It's a pleasure to have you here. I'm really excited to dive into this conversation. I know you've already done a bunch of these podcasts, so you're probably maybe better than me at it, since you have your own show and obviously been involved in the space for such a long time. But I noticed that every single podcast always starts with your story, right? Let's talk about your story. I think I do want to talk about your story, but instead what I want to kick it off is, what are your goals for 2023, specifically for the Web3 space and everything you have on your plate right now?
That's a good question. No one's usually started with that one. Usually it's like, tell me about yourself, or what's your story, what's your background. Goals for 2023, gosh, that's a tough one. 2022, I felt like it was easy because we were starting at zero. For 2023, it's a difficult thing because it's like, how do we take things to the next level? But I would say, at least on my side and on my end, there's 2 things that I'm really focused on. One of them is rektguy, and one of them is my art. And I would love, the goal for both of those is similar. I would love to just get like a much wider audience into that ecosystem, grow our community, like grow the value of it in turn as a result of it. But I want to do that all without like dropping 100,000 NFTs or increasing our supply and doing all that kind of stuff. Like, I want to like find ways I can actually drive value to those collections without just selling more stuff. So I would say that's my main goal. It's a little bit vague, but that's what I'm trying to do this year.
And that's a good start. I caught you off guard anyway, so I'm sure we'll dive deeper into that.
Shout out to our sponsors from OKX, a lightning-fast trading platform with the lowest fees in the market. They offer hundreds of pairs to trade on and new products dropping every single week. One of the best things about OKX is they prove their commitment to security through monthly proof of reserve audits, demonstrating their clean reserve strategy and showing that they really care about customer funds. Now, if you're a SeedPhrase reader, subscriber, or just a viewer, check out the link in the description where you can actually get 30% off of all trading fees for your first $10,000 traded on OKX. Go ahead and check out the link in the bio.
You know, you said one thing about, in terms of like, you don't want to dilute your supply, increase the amount of NFTs or specifically community holders, quote unquote, but you also want to bring mass attention, right? I've been talking to a lot of founders, and I'm sure you have too. And it's like one of the main thing that we're starting to see a lot of Web3 projects and IPs, I guess, in a sense, focus on is content. So as an artist specifically, right? And a founder for your projects, is that also a play that you're looking to dive into in order to bring in more attention? Or what does that growth aspect look like for you guys and what you're focused on?
Yeah, it's tough. You know, like, how do you get mainstream? How do you bring more people in? And can you do that with just 10,000 NFTs? That's the big question, right? So, you know, if you look at something like Doodles and they're like, we want to bring in hundreds of thousands of people and millions of people, and when you have 10,000 NFTs and they're worth like $7,000, $8,000 each, it's really hard to drive mainstream adoption there. So the question is, how do you do that without diluting the supply? And I think that's something that we feel strongly about, because we don't want to do that at the cost of like early supporters or people who've been there from the beginning, the OG guys. You want all that value to be streamed to them. And I think Yuga Labs have done that so well because apes still are worth a ton right now, and every new thing they do, they benefit the OG apes. But for us, I think it's, we're not with rektguy. It's not an NFT collection that's at a floor price of 70 ETH or 50 ETH or even 10 ETH or 5 ETH. Like we're at 1 ETH. So I think that gives us like a lot of growth and upside that we can achieve without actually having to like sell more NFTs. And the main thing with that is to like just grow this brand, grow this idea, like grow the meme. And for something like rektguy, it's CC0. Anyone can do anything with rektguys without having to get our approval or our permission. And I think that's really strong. That has massive networking effects. And we've seen it in our community. I think that's one of the reasons why we've had the success so far. So for us, it's like we are stronger and bigger and can grow even larger as our community strengthens. And how do we grow that? Well, it's not necessarily me just posting on Twitter saying, hey, guys, buy rektguy, join rektguy. That's not really how it works. But we do have a role in providing the community with the tools to go for it and expand and create this virality of it. And I think that's the stuff we're focused on. Like how do we equip each rektguy holder within the community with the right tools to go out there and do whatever they want with this imagery or brand they have and that they own. And whether that's like, hey, here are all the assets of rektguy, here's a GIF app where you can just like put a face on top of it and create a meme. It can be as basic as that. It can be as complicated as like, okay, let's get a focus group together and build a website that allows you to filter through traits and be like specifically drill down into things that are bespoke to rektguy. So all those sorts of things are the stuff that I think we want to work on that I think will have a big impact.
Yeah, I love it. And I think the idea of just being rekt and obviously the rektguy theme is already established and it's like a foundation inside the crypto culture. So that alone obviously helps you guys a lot with growth and IP and obviously just being able to understand and know that, hey, this is part of the community forever. And anybody who does come into the NFT is going to go through a rektguy phase. And I think that's pretty clear as well. I want to reverse a little bit back into obviously going from Wall Street, right? And coming into Web3. Has that been the best decision of your life and why?
Yeah, it has. It's been one of the best decisions of my life. Why? I think, how do I put it? I loved my old job. I love being a trader. I'm not really like a sit down in the office kind of person. I need something new, different every day. I need a bit of excitement, need that thrill. And I got everything and all of that within that job. I think I got a little bit tired of it because it's different when you work for yourself and you work for a company, and having your own autocracy, I think, is a nice thing. Is a big thing. And the other things like just going to an office every day, 5 days a week, and having 2 weeks of holiday every year where you can actually travel and stuff, it kind of sucked. And trading is not really this kind of job you can do remotely. Even though during COVID we did, you can't really like do that kind of stuff remotely. So I was getting a bit tired of those aspects of it, and I just stumbled into crypto, and then NFTs, and I think it was like the volatility of the price action. Like you go from a market where things are moving 2% or 5% to a market where things are moving like 1,000% or down 99% was just incredible. And I just found like both crypto and NFTs as like an asset class is way more interesting than the traditional markets that I was trading. And for me, it just ended up being a no-brainer. It's like I can move to this job where it's like 1 billion times more interesting. I can work for myself. I can work from anywhere in the world. And ultimately, I can make more money doing it because there's way more opportunity, and it's such a nascent industry that those opportunities don't exist anywhere else. So yeah, it's like, some people I used to work with or whatever will be like, do you have any regrets? Do you want to come back, etc.? And it's literally, do you miss it and all that kind of stuff? Like it genuinely, I can put my hand on my heart and genuinely say it's never once crossed my mind to go back because I'm just enjoying what I do so much now.
I love that. Have you like recruited anybody from your old job to join forces in Web3, or that it's only been the vice versa conversation?
That's funny. I've had a lot of people reach out who are curious, who have maybe similar thoughts and are curious, but it's a big leap. It's a big leap to jump into something that is maybe still somewhat unproven, but is getting more proven, and leave a good job at an investment bank. It's a big leap. And, we haven't yet done that. I think I actually may even have some some clauses in my contract to not recruit from my old job. But eventually I can see more people making this switch. Like I'm not the only person that's made this traditional finance to decentralized finance switch, and I think we'll see more of it.
Yeah. What would you say is like? Well, not what would you say? So you work your whole life to get to a job and to a position where you were at, right? Which is like traditional finance, the top of the top, like Wall Street, obviously position. You're trading full time, and then you decide, you know what? Screw the last 25 years and what I worked for. Let me just come into this brand new industry that I know nothing about. What was the first determining factor, or what was the moment when you were like, okay, now I'm ready to quit based off X, Y, and Z? What was that mentality like?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I guess I was already involved in crypto and NFTs and stuff while I was working, and I never thought I would quit my job to do it full time. It was just like, hey, I can make some money on the side doing this. Is kind of fun, like just like most people, right? But I was lucky, I was lucky to be there in 2021, in February and March, and just bought the right things. And I'm not saying like I was really smart and put on good trades and stuff and made loads of money. Like I got lucky. I got lucky in a few different things. I got lucky on apes. I got lucky on punk that I bought. So it got to a point where like I'd like made enough money to be able to quit. But then it's a question of like, well, it's not just making enough money to live like a couple of years. Like, is there enough growth? Is there enough of like an upside in the space? And I think as time went on, as I spent more time in the space, one day it just clicked for me. It's like, wow, this stuff is really going to change the world. Like Ethereum, I think is really going to change the world. Like this concept of NFTs and technology is really going to change the world. And that doesn't mean every single person in the world is going to go out there and buy like a cute furry animal PFP. It doesn't mean that, but this technology can be used in so many different ways that's so much more efficient than the way things exist right now. And I just had that moment of like, I never really understood Ethereum before, but when I was trading NFTs every day, there, like you fill your wallet, you have to pay gas, you have to sign this, but you see how all these things fit together in this puzzle, and you're just like, wow, this is huge. Like I'm using this every day. Suddenly you have that moment. It's like, shit, I'm literally using this every single day. And so is so many people, and more people are going to use it. And that's when I realized it's like, this stuff is just going to be so big. And so many people, crypto's been around for 10 plus years, but so many people still are skeptical, still just don't really realize and get it. And I know that for a fact because I was crypto skeptic for many years. And it took me, like, to be honest with you, it took me trading NFTs to really understand it and get it. And once I did, I was like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because it's like still until this day, every time you post a video about crypto, it's like crypto's a scam, NFTs are dead, just stay away from it, right? But you talk to anybody that's already in the community, in the culture of Web3 NFTs, the majority of those people, especially in the last batch of like mass adoption, I guess, that came in, all came through NFTs, right? So what do you think that next batch looks like? Is it going to be NFTs again? Do you think it's going to be the utility NFTs? Is it going to be that Web2 aspect of things that, we're starting to see like Reddit and Starbucks? So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the Web2 aspects of it. I think it's going to be, like, as you said, Reddit, Starbucks, people using NFTs without knowing they're NFTs. And whether they're called digital collectibles, whether they're loyalty programs, whatever it is, I think that's like the next big onboarding. Utility NFTs, I think, are in a tough spot because I think what happened last year is a lot of NFT projects were like, hey, we're going to sell this mint and we're going to use it and go and build this or go and do this. And what people didn't really realize or didn't put two and two together of was like the value of their NFT was derived from these people going out there and executing this roadmap or game plan. And it was basically like angel investing. It was like VC investing. You're investing in a startup and you're hoping these guys do well. And when people go out there and angel invest or do a VC startup, whatever, you don't just give someone a check, right? You have one-on-one Zooms with them. You find out like their plans. You meet the whole team. You're running their numbers, their financials. You have all this information, and then you make your decision. Whereas like the NFT market was like, oh wow, these guys are going to go build a metaverse game. This sounds sick. I'm in. I'm gonna buy it. And then what's happened is like you've just given some people money who've gone out there and done a really good job, but most people haven't. And even like most startups fail. And I think that's what people didn't realize with the whole utility PFP craze. And that's why that ended up where it did. And I think it will continue to be challenged. But, if you're buying NFTs because you want to buy a piece of crypto art that you really like from an artist or something that represents culture or history, then that's a completely different thing. And I think that's the stuff that will always have value.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you on that. I want to reverse just a little bit back to, because you said you got lucky, right? And I think a lot of people need to get lucky in NFTs, and the chance of getting lucky now is probably a lot less than what it used to be, right? But going back to the part where you got lucky, I think you also got unlucky, right? Because you ended up selling a lot of your apes, or
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, at a very low amount. So walk me through, does that still come back to kind of haunt you? And how do you feel about that experience as a whole, being from like, I owned so much, or I had so much wealth in me, but I just couldn't hold through until, the other side pretty much.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Usually that's the kind of stuff that would really get to me, and it's like, wow, just like tens of millions of dollars I just let go. But the thing is, if I went back to that situation and I was myself, I would have done the same thing. And I understand why I did what I did, because I minted those apes, right? I minted them in May 2021. And I like, I had no idea like what NFTs were going to become. Like I had no idea how big they're going to be. I was just like buying and selling JPEGs and stuff. And obviously I had no idea what apes were going to become, what Yuga was going to become. And I was like, cool, I just minted all these things. I just made like 5 times or 10 times my money. And I'm going to take it. I'm going to take the money and run. And there's nothing in me at that point that would have changed, because I just didn't realize how big it would be. And if it was maybe 2 months later or 3 months later, I think I would have realized how high and big this can get. But I just didn't know or get it at that point in time. So look, it sucks. Like if I had held, it would have been great. I would have made so much money, but there's no way I would have held knowing what I knew then, other than just out of like being lazy or luck. So it is what it is. I had some good stuff as well. I had like a gold ape. I had like a trippy ape.
Yeah.
Look, you win some, you lose some.
Let me ask you this. How much do you think that decision has changed your life and the way you've approached the space since then?
How has it changed my life, and how have I approached the space since then? I've definitely realized that in terms of approaching the space, one thing I've definitely realized is if you pick the right thing and you have conviction, there's so much more upside into just holding on to it than buying and selling and trading, basically. And I think that's a mistake I made with apes. It's like I made so much money. I thought I was making so much money trading, buying and selling, and then if I just held those apes, it would have been way more than everything else. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. It's like the space is filled with hype, right? It's like the next hot thing, the next big thing, people chasing momentum. And sometimes I think, you just don't need to chase that and do that. I think you just got to pick your spots, pick what you like, stay disciplined, not give into the FOMO and the momentum, and understand when to buy, like buy the dips, don't chase something when it's up 100%, and stick to it. And since then, I think it's a strategy that's worked out well for me. And it was good last year. Like last year, you could have really got burnt, but for me, it's like cool. Like I'm just buying things that I know and that I think will have long-term value. I'm just going to hold on to them. And even though when I bought things at last year, like when I bought ETH last year at like 900 or whatever, I was like, oh, this just feels horrible. Like I'm already down like 80% on everything that I own. I'm buying even more here. It just felt so gross to do it. But that's when you just got to do it, close your eyes and do it, and just hold it and wait. And I think that's definitely something I learned from my early days.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. And it's like, as much as we hear the same saying, it's like, don't give into the FOMO, always buy when people are selling, right? Like sell when people are buying. We still have a hard time as humans following those simple directions for whatever reason. Like I'll give you for example, today I think Coinbase is up like 100% on the month, right? And my friend texted me because, we trade stocks here and there. And he's like, bro, why didn't nobody come over to my house and press the buy button on the fucking Coinbase options or stock? He's like, we all knew it was going to go up. Why did nobody buy? And I'm like, that's a great question. We just like, as investors or as humans, we only want to do what everybody else is doing, and we never want to go against the grain. And I think that hurts, or that's obvious in specifically the crypto space more than anywhere else, because you get to see everybody else and how they're moving. Like if I see OSF investing into an NFT, I'm going to go ahead and invest into it, right? So to go off of that topic, now that you're in a position, obviously, where you have multiple projects, you start off with rektguy, you have degens, and you've kind of been through the roller coaster of minting, going to zero pretty much, right? And coming back up on top and establishing. What are some of the biggest things that you have learned that you would recommend, or you're like, okay, these are staples I'm always going to stick by because I experienced it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I definitely learned from the perspective of a project creator. I learned so much from that experience, and like we made degens in July 2021, and we had no idea what we were doing. And we're like, yeah, let's just make an NFT project and some JPEGs, and we'll make some money off it, like just like how everyone else was thinking about it, right? And I just didn't expect the backlash that we got, and I guess like what happened with us is people bought it, didn't make money, so okay, we'll sell it, move on to the next thing. And then you're sitting in this situation where it's like, well, I just made some money from this mint and this thing is now worth zero. And it's like this, not only is it a stain on my record, but like I feel bad. Like I feel like I made some money and it was a failure. It just didn't work out. And I don't deserve it. Like I didn't really earn it. And my co-founder Mando felt the same way. So, from that, I was like, look, it doesn't matter. It's not a crime to fail because people don't get things right all the time. It's not a crime to mess things up. Not everyone is going to be successful. It's also not a crime to necessarily give up, although I think people should keep trying and keep at it and show perseverance and resistance. And for us, like we were never going to give up on it. We were just going to try different things until something worked, and eventually it did work. Like we changed it into like an NFT research platform, which is doing well now. But I think the most important thing that I learned from it, and something that I don't see enough of, and something that I think is unforgivable, and something that every single person should be doing, is like, if you fail at something, if you fail at an NFT project and you're like, well, that was a failure, let me move on to the next one. But for the next project, you don't give like the OG supporters who bought that first thing, if you don't give them some sort of benefit or a look or a free mint, whatever it is, that I think is the crime. And that's a mistake, because you had a bunch of people who invested in you, you fucked up, and they're whatever, like that happens, you move on to the next thing, but you then don't give them some kind of like preferential treatment. I think that's a mistake. And it goes back to the whole thing about Yuga always driving value back to the OG apes. Like you should always drive value back to the original people that supported you. And that's what we did. Like when we did rektguy, we just made it a free mint for all the degens holders. And now if you bought degens, like cool, like the actual degens PFP is not really worth that much, but you have this degens access pass that gives you all the reports and analytics and stuff, which is worth something. You got access to a free mint from rektguy, which is worth something. And now it's like, cool, like we failed at the original degens PFP project, but we succeeded at two other things. But it's not like we ditched those guys. We brought those guys along and they all were able to benefit and profit from it. And that I think is the most important thing.
I love that. And yeah, I think this is a great segue to go into. So you have rektguy, you have degens recently this year, obviously, or last year, I guess, end of last year. You have tabs, and then now Canary Labs, which is pretty much starting to build out this complete ecosystem of whether it's data, community, PFP, and obviously art. What are like some of the biggest plans you guys have planned out for this year? Any alpha we can start diving into?
Yeah, I think, I think within Canary Labs, as you have degens, you have rektguy, you have tabs, which we did with Alien Queen.
Yep.
I kind of view like rektguy and tabs as like, these are the community, like culture, art projects that we want to push. And I think we want to do more of the same stuff. We have some interesting ideas to make them bigger and push the IP and value and brand for those things, but we're not going to overcomplicate them. We're not going to promise a metaverse game. We're not going to promise like a Web3 clothing line. We're not going to promise a cartoon series. And I think we've done really well for it to get to a value based on like no roadmap or nothing. Yeah. And for me, that's the most powerful thing. It's like the value of rektguy does not depend on us being able to create a successful Web3 game, whereas it does for other projects. And when they fail, you see they drop down in value. The value for us, like, is just a piece of art and arguably culture and a meme and a community, and that's always going to exist. And really just us, like really just like myself or Mando being in the space. That's kind of what you're buying into. And it's built like, think about CryptoPunks, like no one is doing anything, but they're just always going to have this value. And that's what we really wanted to try and do. And we recognize the opportunity was there. And that's what we're going to push for for rektguy and tabs. And then for DGens, like, you know, if you go to dgens.finance, the whole like NFT analytics platform now, you have all the fundamental research reports, and you know, we merged with the Flips Finance guys to put everything into one. And I think that's a really good like one-stop shop for everything NFTs. And last year was a great year for building. We lost a lot of focus and attention on NFTs, but I think it will come back. And I think we just want to make that like the easiest to use, like best platform that anyone wants to have for just looking at NFT analytics. And I think we have some interesting ideas on how we can boost that as well.
I love that. Are you thinking of any, or does any type of problems, whether it's on the community, culture, or tech side in the Web3 and NFT space that comes to mind that you're like, okay, that is a niche that I want to go ahead and try to solve?
There's a lot of problems that I think, you know, that I think could be solved. There's a lot of things that exist in like the real life world that I think NFT technology could solve. Like, I don't know, like when you buy a used car, someone gives you like a little sheet which tells you all the service history. Like the used car could be an NFT, and all the changes could be like on chain or metadata. Like that would just speed up so many more efficiencies and stuff. Like when you have reservations, like dinner reservations, like at hot places or whatever, like you create a marketplace for that, and people could just start trading it. But cool, like here's like my 8 p.m. res at Carbone or something. Yeah, I'm auctioning it off now, like, and you can just do it all on chain. Like, yeah, it's a cool idea, right? Like, I think that I'm not going to take credit for that. I saw someone tweet that the other day. I can't remember who it was. But all these sorts of things are so interesting. There are like so many different ideas that I think would be amazing to solve, but it's like I just don't have the time to do everything right. And you know, I hope people do these ideas.
Is there any specific one that you're planning on like tackling? Or it's just like the promise for you guys right now is like under promise, over deliver, and we're going to figure it out step by step?
I think that's the idea. I think it's under promise, over deliver. I think we don't want to claim that we're going to try and like cure cancer here. I think it's under promise, over deliver. And look, I think like when you're a project founder or when you're a creator or whatever it is, you have to find something and do something that's within your means, that is sustainable. And I think I'm not a believer in you know, work 24 hours a day and crush yourself. And believe me, I've done that. I spent 10 years doing that. And ultimately, I think it's not sustainable. And I think you have more longevity in the business idea and running a community if you do it in a way that is sustainable for you. And like, I'm at a spot right now where like, I work really hard. I say like, I'll work like 15 hours most days and weekends as well, but I really enjoy it and it's not too intensive and I can do it at home or whatever, or from my phone. And that is something I think I can just do for a long time, which I think is the most bullish thing for our projects because I'm not going to get burnt out from doing it, basically.
What do you think is like the key there? Like working 15 hours after you've made a ton of money, what some even consider wealth, whether it's socially or financially, right? What do you think is like the key, and what would you tell people who want to be in that position just so they can think like, I want to take a vacation? So what's the motivation there? Working 15 hours a day after you've accomplished so much.
What's the motivation to keep going?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I think it's a deep question because it comes down to like what your outlook on life is, right? And for me, it's like I couldn't just go on vacation for a year and just chill and stuff. Like, I get bored. Like, even if I go traveling for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, like I see the stuff and like I need to do something with my day. And for me, it's like I want to set myself a challenge or a goal or a target and work on something and work towards it and push myself to see if I can achieve it. And whether that's like doing something in Web3, like, I don't know, being an artist. Like, I don't have any background in art. But I'm trying to push myself. I'm trying to challenge myself, push myself out of my comfort zone and see if I can achieve something that I didn't think I could or that other people thought I couldn't. And for me, that's what it is. Like, set yourself goals and challenges and just see if you can achieve them. And when you do, set yourself more and see how far you can push yourself. And for me, that's the main thing that drives me. Like, it's not so much the money, it's not so much the clout or the fame. For me, it's just like personal satisfaction to be like, cool, like I'm going to set myself this goal. 90% of people are telling me I can't do it. Like, I'm going to prove to myself that I can. And that's the thing that drives me, really.
I love that. And what would you say your relationship is with wealth now that you're at the position you are?
My relationship with wealth, that's a good question. Look, I don't think about how much wealth I have. I don't think about the money I've made. I'm not trying to make a certain amount. I'm not trying to preserve a certain amount. I think for me, it's like I make sure I have enough to live a modest life. Like I take the bus everywhere around London. This T-shirt I've had
That's
for like
dangerous, I've heard.
at nighttime. It is, yeah. I've literally had this T-shirt for like 3 years. Like I definitely don't live extravagantly. It's great to be able to have money to travel. I think that's the big thing, which is really important in the space for me. To be able to travel at short notice. But my relationship with wealth is like, don't take it for granted and don't live in a way that is like gluttonous or in a way that is like too flamboyant or too over the top, and in a way where you want to like show other people you're wealthy or whatever. Like I'm definitely not about any of that. For me, it's like make sure I have enough to like achieve the things that I want to achieve, be able to travel, live a comfortable life, and everything else is like I'm not measuring it by how much money I've made. I'm measuring it by like other things that make me feel successful.
I love that answer. I think that's a great point there. Leads me to another question that just came up here. Just free flowing. So you took the trader approach, right, and the investor, and it's fair to say you did great there. You've done the founder approach as well. You've also done great there. Now you're kind of in this atmosphere where you're like the artist approach, right? And you're already onto a really good start. Out of all three of those segues, which one have you enjoyed the most?
I think I've enjoyed the artist side of things the most because it's just so different to what I was doing before. It's like it's using a different part of your brain. Like I'm not crunching numbers. I'm not like solving equations. I'm not even really like taking risk and like feeling that exhilaration. It's just like I'm in like another world in my head. It feels very zen. I'm like chilling and trying to be creative and trying to come up with stuff. And for me, that's the most important thing. I think like it's just so different, and I've really, really enjoyed it.
Walk me through the process of like creating your first art, minting it, selling it as an NFT, and like that whole process.
Yeah, I mean, the first piece I did, I was literally just doodling something on my notepad, but I still had a job, and I was bored, and I was just like, I just doodle this thing, and then I just decided to make it into an NFT. I didn't want to like shit it. I didn't want to pump it. At this point, I already had some following from collecting art. So I was like, here's my auction on Foundation. If anyone wants to buy it, they can. And I've done digital art before. Like I spent actually my teens creating digital art. So I had some experience in doing it. Never really thought I could like sell things in this environment because everyone is so talented, but I was like, whatever, like I'll do it for fun because I enjoy it. Put it up on Foundation. Someone bought it for like 0.5 ETH. And I just really enjoyed that feeling of like it's not a huge amount of money, but someone was like, the fact that someone wanted to buy that piece just meant a lot. Maybe they didn't buy it for the art. Maybe they just bought it because like I had a following or they thought they could make money on it, whatever. But the guy actually still owns it. The guy still owns the piece. And so just that feeling of every time someone collects it because they like the art, I think there's no other feeling like it, I would say.
I love that. And the fact that you still know that the guy's like owns that first piece of art is pretty cool in itself, right? It's like in no other world does an artist know who owns their piece or where or what's it doing. So I think that's pretty dope. If you had the option to only pick one of those routes, let's say we reverse in time and you can only do one of those things, which one would it be?
I would stick with the art, I think. Like trading and stuff has been my bread and butter for 10 years, but it can be stressful. It's not sustainable. I love the thrill. It's exhilarating, but I think with the art, I feels like I can really make it something that's like long-term and sustainable and something that I think I will always enjoy unconditionally.
Yeah, fair enough. And now we've been seeing obviously a lot of the artists and the open editions popping up, and it's becoming more of a narrative, and more artists want to come into the space. What are your thoughts, obviously, on the current place and narrative, I guess, around artists, arts, open editions, and just the way the space is evolving right now on that sector?
Yeah, look, I have two views on open editions. I think if you're a brand new artist and you're entering the space, it's actually a really good way to build a community around your art. Like it I think NFTs are about community. I keep saying it. It's so cliche to say it, but it really is true. And
Yep.
it's a really good way to onboard more people and get more eyes on your stuff. And I think from that perspective, open editions are fantastic. If you're a high selling artist, it is a really good way to get people to be able to own a piece of your art at an affordable level. I think there's an element of greed involved. People can make a lot of money from open editions, and then it hurts their existing collections, and things can go down in value, and people get upset and stuff. And I don't think there's anything wrong with selling an open edition, making loads of money off it, and doing whatever you want with that money. There is nothing wrong with that, and it's completely ethical. It's fine, and people do it all the time. Like if you're a music artist and you sell records, you're actually celebrated by how much records you sell, right? You'll get introduced as like, this guy sold 50 million records worldwide, but for some reason, if you sell loads of an open edition, people hate you for it. And so I think I really think there's nothing wrong with it, but I think as an artist, you also have to understand if you do it and you do make a lot of money from it, you're probably going to get a lot of backlash. It is going to hurt your reputation. It will probably affect your mental health and stuff, and people are going to hate you for it. And they're going to, even though you're just saying this is just the art, people are going to expect you to do something with it. And I think that's the thing that you have to face as an artist, and ask yourself the question if you want to go through that or not. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with it and stuff, but for me, I just feel like there's more of a long-term game. And I'm not saying I'll never do an open edition, but I think I'd want to do it in a more creative way than how we've seen it recently.
What would you say the solution to what we're facing in terms of the mindset game in the NFT and the Web3 space? Like in terms of everybody's all about the money-making aspect. And I think it comes back down to the idea of anywhere you go, all you hear about crypto and NFTs is it's a great way to make money, and you can make a lot of money quick, right? So what is going to be the new one-liner that you describe NFTs or crypto community or just crypto in general that's going to allow people to change the shift of mindset that they think about the space specifically, besides just the making money side?
I would say recognize that NFTs right now are a technological and artistic revolution that you'll only see once in a lifetime. People talk about the Renaissance period in art. Like, I do genuinely believe this is a digital Renaissance. People talk about the .com bubble. Has it bubble? That's probably not the best word to use, given I'm trying to pitch this. But people talk about the beginning of the internet or the Industrial Revolution. All these kind of things were like big moments in history, and I genuinely, really, 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 really think that crypto and NFTs are that right now. And whatever, the money is the money, but just being a part of it and being able to say, like, I was like one of the original people in the early years that was like collecting NFTs or making art or doing this in DeFi or whatever. Like, I think that's a really amazing thing to say, that you can only really do once in your lifetime, I think. And that for me is the big thing.
Yeah, I agree. How did it feel when Snoop Dogg bought your NFTs? What was that moment like?
It's insane. It was just, I'm quite a big Snoop fan, but who isn't, I guess. But yeah, it was insane. It's just the most surreal feeling ever.
Did that happen organically? Was there anything going on like that you were trying to accomplish, or it would just kind of just happen?
Genuinely, like a lot of people ask that, did you guys pay him or whatever? Completely organic. I had no idea. And I was actually like at my friend's bachelor party, and I was like drinking a pint, like midway through downing a pint, and someone was like, "Hey, like Snoop just bought rektguy." I was like, "What?" Yeah, exactly. Completely out of the blue. It was insane. That's for me. That's like my biggest highlight in this whole journey so far.
I love that. What are some other like really cool moments that you've experienced since you've been in this space? And then I want to talk about some bad ones.
Yeah, that was amazing. The whole ape thing was amazing. I think, honestly, like going to the first NFT event, when I went to the first NFT NYC, was just unreal, because everyone's like sitting at home, like online on computers and stuff, and actually going to it in person and seeing all these people and stuff was just incredible. I think that's another real moment.
Yeah, I love the in-person events now more than ever, because every time I go to like one of these events, I get to meet new people, and you get to like put a face on the character, right? Online. It's like you play Fortnite forever. You always talk to the person, but you never see them. And when you see them, you have this now full clear image of who the people you're dealing with and you're talking with every single day. So it's always pretty dope. Talk to me about some of the biggest losses or the biggest, like the worst days or stories that you faced in the space as well.
Biggest losses. Look, in May 2021, there's a big crypto crash and I felt overexposed. You know, I could put a lot of my own money into it and things were down like 60 or 70%. And yeah, like I felt very overexposed and things were down a lot. And I lost a lot of money. And I actually sold stuff. I sold stuff at the lows. Like I went against the things that I always say and preach, and I sold stuff and lost money. So that was a big one. Last year I took big losses. I took big paper losses, but I was kind of like prepared for it. Like I quit my job. I'd sold a bunch, took cash out, and you know I took way bigger losses I did last year than I did in 2021. But I kind of like knew it was coming, and I had a game plan. And I was like, cool, like I'm going to buy here, then I'm going to buy here, I'm going to buy here, and I felt great. It's like ETH. Like I started averaging down on ETH at like 3.3K or whatever, and you know, as it went lower, I just kept buying, and it just for ages felt so gross. And then at one point, you're like, what am I doing here? Is this whole thing a scam? But it worked out in the end. But yeah, like there's definitely two moments that were tough, but I just stuck through it basically.
Do you ever see a world where crypto doesn't make it?
No, I really don't. It's too big to fail now. It really is too big to fail.
What would you tell the people who do think crypto is not going to make it?
People said the same thing about the internet. People said the same thing about Bitcoin. It's literally existed for 12 plus years. You know, what's that little newspaper clipping of the internet which says internet users down millions is like it's about to fail. Like it, you know, people will say all these things, and if something lasts for 10 plus years, you can be sure it's not going to go away anytime soon.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that. Obviously, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing here. How about in terms of like predictions? Any big or bold predictions that you have for the space, whether it's this year or over the next few years?
The biggest thing that I think will happen is we'll get mass adoption, but without people realizing it. I think that's the biggest thing. I think crypto, NFTs, everything will be used in everyday lives, and people just won't know. It's just like when you send money in a bank transfer or whatever, no one knows how it's actually sent. Like no one knows ACH or all that kind of stuff. But you know, that's the way I think this stuff will work, and it'll happen very soon, sooner than people think.
Do you think it'll require something like, I don't know, OnlyFans, for example, but for crypto or using crypto wise to really see a big boom in the space like this?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, like arguably NFTs were something that creates a big adoption themselves. But yeah, like I think any of these ideas that create virality, I think will definitely make a big impact. But it's got to be different. Like you can't just like say, oh, you have to like send ETH to Coinbase and then send it to your MetaMask wallet and then sign this transaction. Like no one's going to do that. I mean, lots of people are doing it, but you're not going to get like the adoption that we want to have with the technology the way it is right now.
Yeah. Do you find it funny that it's a lot easier to spend crypto and ETH on stupid things than it is to spend real hard-earned cash? Like if I'm looking at my bank account, I want to go, let's say, I don't know, luxury store shopping. It's a lot harder for me to spend $800 on a t-shirt or a jacket that I really fucking like than it is to spend 1 ETH on a fucking NFT that I have no clue if it's going to go up or down.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, it's funny how that is. And it's the same for everyone. It's the same for me. But I guess there's this element of like magic internet money, and a lot of people aren't taking out their money. They're just playing with it online. And it's like a game. And I guess when you make enough money, you take it out because it makes a difference to your life. But until you get to that point, it's just like, you know, you're basically playing a game, and it's almost like it's not real money. Basically, that's how I think people approach it.
Yeah, it never feels like real money. It always feels like a game. And I'm just worried about if more crypto tech gets integrated into everyday things, how is that going to affect my spending habits as a human? Like, would you ever start buying food and clothes with ETH? And how much easier would it be to buy food and clothes and other stuff with like ETH or another cryptocurrency?
It would be good. I mean, if everything was interoperable, it would be great. But the problem is you have a tax implication in most places, right? So like, I don't want to. if I bought ETH at 900 now it's at 1700, I don't want to like buy a sandwich because I'm going to have to pay 20% tax on that or whatever. Like, I think that's the biggest problem at the moment for that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Cool. Besides that, anything else you want to touch up on? I think we touched on a lot of few good things here. Any new projects, or not new projects, I guess, anything else upcoming that you'd like to touch up on here before we wrap this up?
Not really. I think we covered a good amount there, I'd say.
Yeah, cool. Well, awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to check out Avi OSF down in the description, and we'll see you guys on the next episode.